Today, I wanted to talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and actually also Kaufman's hierarchy of needs. Yesterday, I talked about the seven basic human needs, and today I wanted to talk about kind of like how we organize those needs. And I also wanted to talk about Erickson's stages of development. And the reason why I love Erickson's stages of development is that it's what I generally recommend to people who are struggling with, like, how do I parent myself? How do I reparent myself? Because I was a child victim of abuse with parents who didn't do what they were supposed to be doing. There's a lot of grief I find for victims of abuse who are coming to these resources and saying all of the ways they were not loved, all of the ways that they were abused, basically. This may not be the right material for you at this time, sort of depending on where you're at emotionally. I find that when victims of abuse are in more of a crisis stage, or they're in the strong emotions of just trying to survive and stop drowning, basically, because of the abuser, this may not be the right resource at the right time. This is, I feel like, more for people who have, like, are not in those immediate crisis places, have a more firmer kind of emotional foundation to kind of like, okay, now I want to start to look at things to be able to use the information to move forward in a way that feels empowering, not to read the information or hear the information in a way that makes you, that amplifies the harm, the grief, and may pull you back under the, like, the suffering. So anyway, just want to put that out there. All right, now, the other thing is, the reason I love Erickson's stages of development is because it is what I generally recommend to people who are trying to figure out, oh, like, oh my gosh, I had abusive parents. I was not given the foundation that I need in this life. And now I feel like I'm broken. What do I do? And I'm like, aha. Again, I am just some lady on the internet. As always, run this by like a professional person. um, but the way that I did it and what I recommend is that people reparent themselves by going through Erickson's stages of development. And I find that this isn't just something that I did once. I will often come back to it, because healing, in my opinion, is fractal. So you'll be doing the same thing, but maybe on different scale. Maybe it's also a spiral. So you do a little thing and then you do a bigger thing and then a bigger thing. And it's often the same thing over and over again. Um, you have this kind of a cyclical healing process. So this may be a thing that you put down and then you come back to. Not a problem, no worries. All right. The other thing I want to say is that none of these things are checklists. This is not prescriptive, it's descriptive. Um, for the hierarchy of needs, sometimes when victims of abuse hear resources, they think, "Oh no, this is it," and they get very didactic about it. And I like to hold things loosely. I like to have access to all the tools. So even if they aren't necessarily 100% in agreement, I'm not like, "Oh, this one's wrong and this one's right, and everyone should live according to XYZ." Like, no, I don't like that. I like all the tools. I like the different ways of thinking about things and changing out frameworks when I need to. So, um, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I feel like everyone's pretty familiar with. It's usually shown as a pyramid shape. The bottom of the pyramid, the most foundational level of needs are going to be your immediate survival, like physiological needs. It's going to be things like food, water, air, sleep. And often abusers are messing with every single survival need that you have. And then at the tippy top of the pyramid is self-actualization, being integrated as a person, the intersection of what you are doing in this world, what you are bringing into this world that only you can do, and that is special and unique to you, and like the beauty that you create and are, right? So We got our survival layer. We go to our next layer, which is our safety and security layer. This is usually like, if you don't have it, you won't die, but it helps you preserve yourself where you are. So it's like shelter. You may not have a house. You may literally just have like a shack. You built something out of pond bronze. If we're thinking paleolithically, shelter. Uh, it could be a home. It could also be the things that you own. It could be clothing. It could be like your job, if you want to kind of think of it more in a social versus I, I kind of think of it like a caveman perspective, and then like your current society perspective. Current society perspective is like, I have a job, I make money, I have money to pay for the things that I need to be safe and secure. So abusers also will highly mess with this level as well. They will sabotage your home. They will take over your possessions and act as if they aren't yours to make decisions about. They will sabotage your job. So they be messing with that level too. All right, the next layer of the pyramid, we've got survival, safety, security. Then we've got relational, like the relational layer. This is going to be your friends. It's going to be your family. It's going to be your loved ones, physical and emotional intimacy. It's going to be your relationship network. Um, if you're arrow ace, this level may not be like a super huge one for you, but it's on the pyramid. So we've got our survival, we've got our safety security, we've got our community support structures, friends, relationships, romantic partner, real partner. And again, abusers will mess with that layer too. And above that is the your self-worth level. It's how you are perceived in this world, how you perceive yourself. It is your self-respect. It is the respect that other people give you. It is what gives you efficacy in this world, the ability to act. Our self-worth beliefs are the beliefs that drive our self-efficacy, our idea that we believe that we can and even should take action in this world. So this layer, again, also abusers love to mess with this layer. But this like worth layer, what is your worth to yourself? What is your perceived worth to others? And then as a result of this worth, like, how are you acting in this world? And then you get to the tippy top layer, which is self-actualization. You are integrated. You are just starting with who you are and what you are doing. And you are creative. You are blossoming. You are the person who is the only person who could be you and do the things that you do. And the contributions that you make are these like beautiful things in this world. And you're doing it with the confidence that you built from having the self-worth to be able to do the things, the confidence that builds confidence, right? So abusers mess with that level. And then they tell you, they undermine the self-actualization level by saying, that you should feel ashamed of who you are, that who you are is bad, wrong, and broken. So they'll inflict trauma and pain and suffering and abuse on every layer of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, Kaufman's hierarchy of needs, I love it because it's a sailboat. It divides the needs into deficit needs, which is the boat, and your growth needs, which is the sail. And so you can't have the boat if you don't have if you're not able to survive, if you don't have safety and security. So when you don't have those needs, you literally don't have a boat for the growth needs to move the boat along. So the bottom, the boat is basically made of the survival needs, your safety security needs. And then the sailboat is going to be like your connection, your love, the actualization things that you're doing. Where is the boat going? So the relationships and the connections and the self-worth allow the boat to move to wherever it's going to go. And abusers mess with that too, because they will tell you they're giving you the sale, the love, the connection, the worth, as they destroy the actual boat that is your boat. So let me pull up, hold on, let me pull up. Okay, the way the actual like graphic has it, it has the boat as self-esteem, connection, and safety. And then the growth of the sail is purpose, love, and exploration. So anyway, that's Kaufman's sailboat of needs. Deficit needs, growth needs. Without the deficit needs, the growth needs go nowhere. Anyway, all right. And now Erickson's stages of development, which I am such a big fan of. They divide it by age. So it'll be like 0 to 1 years old, 1 to 3 years old, 4 to 6 years old, and so on and so forth. And so essentially, Erickson's stages of development is set up so that there is an understood conflict at every stage of the development that has to be resolved before you can go to the next stage. So the foundational first conflict is going to be between trust and mistrust. Can I trust that when I'm vulnerable, when I'm in need, when I'm in crying, when I'm hungry, when I'm cold, that someone will come and take care of me? And when that person does, we build a value of hope. We internalize the hope that when we are vulnerable, when we are in need, when we need help, that someone will be there. The problem is, if you grew up with parents who were not meeting your needs, either through neglect or abuse, or actively, like, fundamentally harming you, hostile attribution bias, even of babies, is the number one predictor for parental abuse. So if you had parents or caregivers that were not meeting that need, they're not coming when you cry, they're not feeding you when you're hungry, instead of developing hope, instead of developing trust that you will be cared for, you internalize the idea that you will not be cared for and there is no hope. So when I am doing that whole reparenting process, I meet my own needs, even if I am depressed, or to the ability that I'm able to meet them, that I can trust myself, that I have hope, that I will be cared for, and that somebody cares about me. And if I'm the person who's doing that thing, then I'm the person who's doing that thing. Now, I did this before I became Christian. So then obviously once I became Christian, I did approach this in a little bit of a different way. As always, adapt for your own specific circumstances. So let's talk about the actual, okay. So I talked about 0 to 1 years old, which is the trust versus mistrust, leading to hope or hopelessness. All right. 1 to 3 years old is autonomy versus shame and doubt. When you are allowed to explore independence, you are exploring autonomy, your ability to make choices about things that you want to do or about yourself. And if you are supported in that, you develop a sense of independence, you develop will, that you have a will that you can execute. However, you might have parents that shamed your attempts to be independent, that shamed your attempts at autonomy, that criticized you, even at 3 years of age, criticized you for the way that you played, the way that you walked. You'd be surprised. This starts very early. Okay. The play age is 3 to 6 years old. It's initiative versus guilt. Taking the initiative on activities, but if you're not able to, or if you are criticized for doing it, you may develop guilt for having taken initiative. So when you meet that initiative, like need, you develop purpose. I take initiative with my will that I developed from the 1 to 3 years old, and I can have purpose in this world using my will to determine a purpose, something that I want to do. Or if this level does not get met for you, then there's a guilt there, because you might even feel guilty that you were not able to take initiative, or that you did it wrong, that you can't affect purpose in this world. All right, 7 to 11 years of age is industry versus inferiority. Um, Basically, am I doing things with my initiative? How competent am I at those things? And if I am not competent at those things, I may feel inferior to other people. This really is where you start developing your self confidence. And let's see. Oh, yeah. So the virtue is competence. And as I always say, competence leads to confidence. So if you have not been able to engage in something, be industrious, let's say, in a way that was effectual and competent, then you don't build confidence in yourself, and you have inferiority. All right, adolescence is 12 to 18 years old. This one is identity versus confusion. So basically, when you're in this particular stage, you are trying out, you're experimenting with your identity, how you want to present yourself, who you want to be in the world. And when it's successful, you're integrating that with your sense of yourself. And so the virtue that it's describing is fidelity. When we are not able to effectively effectuate the stage, we end up with confusion, and we don't feel integrated and whole. Um, yeah. All right. So early adulthood, they kind of, in this particular chart, they compress it. Um, I've usually seen it where friendship and romantic relationships are separated out. This particular one doesn't. It just says intimacy versus isolation. And that's the conflict. And when you are able to integrate and establish intimacy in relationships, then you have love. But when you are not able to have love, and then you're in isolation. For the middle age, 30 to 64 years old, it's generativity versus stagnation. Generativity being like, I'm contributing to society, I'm part of a family, I'm contributing, I have a purpose in this world. I'm caring for others. I'm knit into the fabric of mankind. Old age is 65 and onward. The conflict there is integrity versus despair. Well, that's a weird way to put it. Basically, it's a legacy issue. Did I do something that matters? Do I have a legacy that will stand even when I have passed on? Or did I not? And when you do have that legacy to stand on, you're developing wisdom, or you have wisdom. So you're assessing and making sense of life and meaning of contributions. So anyway, you can sort of see how you can move through these stages to kind of reparent yourself from the beginning, establishing that you can trust that you are loved and will be cared for, or that you can take initiative, that you can build competence and not be shamed for it. Anyway, oh no, whoops. Well, it was a long one. I still like it. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. I'll link some articles in the pinned comment, and I will talk to you next time.